Miss Zanette here. Sorry I am out today, but I'm still here in spirit to go through our lesson for today. So, we've done a lot of work over the last couple class periods with our main characters, and today we're going to kind of take a break from them and talk about our minor characters. So today's teaching point is all about how minor characters are in our stories for a reason. They're not just randomly thrown in there by the author. They play certain roles. They have a purpose. So there are 3 common roles that our minor characters play in our books. The first one is that they help to advance the plot. So they do something, say something that causes the plot to kind of head in a new direction, the main character to change course, something like that. The second role is that they reveal additional information or insight into our main character. So maybe it is something the main character says to them, maybe it's the way the main character treats them. Any way that the main character interacts with a minor character can usually offer some more insight into our main character. And the third role is to set the tone of the scene. So sometimes there are minor characters, when they're in a certain scene, they really kind of shift the tone. Everyone acts differently. Things tend to happen when these minor characters are around that don't happen when they're not around. So these are the 3 kind of main ways you might think about your minor characters. So we're going to do this together, first with Patrol, as always. So we've finished this book now, and it's a really good book to go through this exercise with because there are not many traditional minor characters. The main character doesn't say anything to anyone or really interact with anyone. So it's also kind of a good opportunity to explain that minor characters can be anyone. Can be literally just someone that the main character mentions but never even speaks to because maybe they reminded them of someone, and even that can offer insight into our character. So for Patrol, there were quite a few characters that our main character came into contact with even though he never really directly interacted with them. So the first one that I'm going to draw our attention to is going to be after they bomb the village and then they storm in. And then we're going to talk about this sergeant. So here's the picture of them kind of storming into this village. You can see everything's on fire. And then the sergeant goes, "Secure the village." He points toward the enemy. So when the sergeant calls this, he's like shouting, right? There's an exclamation point, and it makes things seem very kind of formal, very serious. He's shouting that order that we know our main character might not necessarily want to follow, and he points towards the enemy. So I'm going to say that potentially we could write about how this minor character sets the tone of the scene. Because, in the moments before, they're just leading up to into the village, and then the sergeant sets that tone of secure the village, where it becomes, they're on a mission, they've got business to attend to. So that's his only line, but he is considered a minor character because he's in the story, right? Okay, the other minor characters that I'm actually going to draw our attention to are on the same page, and we are going to think about this woman and this old man. So again, they don't have any lines. He doesn't interact with them at all. He just sees them. But through the way he describes them, we can say that it revealed additional insight into our main character, or it offered kind of additional information about him. We talked about this last class, the way that he describes them kind of shows us this like sympathy that he's having for them in this moment where he's supposed to be fulfilling this role as a soldier. So they are acting, they have a role here as minor characters. Through his kind of interaction, quote unquote, with them, even though he doesn't directly interact with them, it reveals to us that he has this very sympathetic nature and that he's noticing their humanity, right? Like we talked about in the last class. So those are a couple of examples of how we might think about minor characters in our stories. So what you're going to be doing now, after you're done watching this fun little video, is you are going to be completing your next journal entry. So journal entry number 3, attending to minor characters. So you are going to think of 2 minor characters in your book, and you're going to write about how they've impacted the story. So what role have they played? And then I gave my brief example at the top. So the sergeant in patrol sets the tone of the scene because he shouts that harsh order to secure the village. So you're going to write their name here, who the minor character is, or if they don't have a name, I could have just written the brown woman with age etched into her face. I could have taken that as a quote from the book because she doesn't have a name. So you're going to write down who your two minor characters are and exactly what roles you think they played. And this is interpretive, right? It's up to you to kind of figure that out. They could have done a couple of these things, but you're just going to write about one of them. So for mine, I could write, and I know I'm going to spell this wrong, the sergeant helped to set the tone, and the old, I'll use the man, ... revealed information. And then down here, we're going to do our explanation with evidence. So I'm going to write about everything that I just talked through with you. So I already talked through my analysis with you. So you would do the writing portion, though, with your two minor characters. And again, just like last class, I fully expect that you're flipping this over and filling out these lines on the other side, because especially since you're writing about two minor characters, you should have a lot more to say than what can fit on this front chunk of lines, especially if you're including evidence, which, of course, is required. All right, so enjoy your second journal entry. Be good for the rest of the day and have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday.